On a hot Friday, August 28, 2020, near midnight, leslypalacio, 22, and Eric Ronald IA, 25, drove into the parking lot of the Longhorn Casino, located in Whitney, an area formerly known as East Las Vegas. The Longhorn Casino, built in 1989, catered to both tourists and locals seeking a fun atmosphere and gambling in a quieter setting. The two entered and headed toward the Chuckwagon restaurant, passing the slot machines and other gambling opportunities. Leslie was a nursing student, just a few months away from graduating, while Eric was a guy who seemed very interested in the date and what might unfold. They both ordered a nice dinner, and each had a few drinks with their meal. In fact, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Both showed no signs of being drunk. After the meal, they headed outside, avoiding the slot machines as locals often did. Leslie took a bag of leftovers to go, and Eric appeared to be a trustworthy and familiar friend. Due to pandemic regulations, Leslie wore a mask, while Eric seemed to have forgotten his, making his face easily recognizable. The two walked out into the parking lot, their dinner lasting about an hour and a half. It was now the early hours of Saturday. They had a light, friendly conversation as they headed back to Eric's truck. Leslie walked around to the passenger side, and Eric got into the driver's seat. For many, the date might have ended there, but in a town that's always buzzing day and night, the night was still young, and of course, so were they. They continued on to their next destination, Putter's Bar and Grill on East Charleston Avenue in Las Vegas. The couple arrived around 2:15 a.m., about 20 minutes after leaving the Longhorn parking lot. They had a few more drinks and left at some point later. No one working at the bar that night could pinpoint the exact time the couple left. Once again, while most people may have called it a night, the young couple kept the fun going. Their next stop was one of the branches of Bourbon Street Sports Bar, where they spent more time together, drinking beer and having a few shots of tequila. Eventually, after spending hours outdoors and drinking, they decided to end the night and head back to Eric's house. The couple arrived near dawn, seen parking in front of Eric's house around 5:30 a.m. Leslie appeared heavily intoxicated, and now Eric had to help her out of the car. She had trouble walking, and Eric had to assist her into the house. The two still seemed to be getting along. Inside the house, Eric led Leslie to the bedroom. The house belonged to Eric's father, Jose Rangel, and his mother. Eric's younger sister also lived there. Jose had plans to take his wife to an event at church that morning, but he was not awake yet. No one actually saw the couple enter the house, and then something terrible happened. They found themselves in an irreversible situation, and disaster struck. Before we begin, we would like to express our deepest condolences to the family and loved ones of leslypalacio, a young woman whose life was tragically cut short while her future was still bright. On Saturday afternoon, Leslie's family became very concerned when she had not returned after her date the previous night. Her mother, Rangel-Ibarra, and sister, Nellie Palacios, contacted the Las Vegas Metro Police to report that Leslie had not come home. They said they had tried calling and texting her throughout the morning, but received no response. The last message her sister received from Leslie's phone simply read, "I need to tell you something," but there was no further explanation. The Metro Police Department then advised the family to wait 24 hours before reporting her as missing. In the past, this rule was a guideline many police and investigative agencies nationwide would follow, especially when a person did not have a mobile phone or a landline at home. The rule allowed families to wait and see if the missing person would return after resolving any unexpected issues, such as car accidents or arguments. However, over time, law enforcement recognized that enforcing this rule wasted valuable hours in the search for missing persons, especially when communication had become much easier thanks to mobile phones. Most police departments have since abandoned this rule, and agencies now investigate immediately upon receiving a missing person report. However, in this case, the Palacio's family was asked to wait, and they complied, but continued to attempt reaching Jose Rangel by phone to check what the couple had been doing. He did not answer. The family kept trying to call Eric's sister, but there was no response. They even went to the Rangel house, but no one answered the door. An hour later, they returned and saw Eric's mother and sister moving items into a truck, but they could not speak with them. This friend continued to explain that Eric mentioned he had a big plan, but didn't provide any details. According to this friend, Eric did not seem to be in a normal state. He appeared to be running away from something. Eric then left the restaurant in an intoxicated state, with no clear reason for doing so. Meanwhile, a serious investigation was underway in Las Vegas. The police had discovered several key pieces of evidence inside the Rangel family home. Investigators found a pair of green latex gloves, a dirty cleaning cloth, along with other cleaning supplies. The floors in certain areas in the house seemed to have been wiped down and showed traces of blood. The police also discovered bloodstains on Eric's mattress, along with a shirt that had blood on it. They also found Eric's wallet, which contained no money, but still had his identification. Additionally, another bloodstain was found in the bathroom. Throughout the investigation, authorities realized that this was not just a missing person case, but a criminal case. The police issued arrest warrants for Eric and his father, Jose. At the same time, public alerts were issued, asking for help in locating the two men. This notice attracted the attention of an old friend of Eric. The friend mentioned that he had known Eric for about 5 or 6 years and had last seen him in a restaurant. At that time, Eric was heavily intoxicated and seemed to be dealing with some major issues. He also mentioned that Eric had referred to a big plan, but didn't go into detail. This friend became an important lead in the investigation. The police also collected images from surveillance cameras in the area. The footage showed Eric and his father dragging a body out of the house early the following morning. This video clearly provided irrefutable evidence of both men's involvement in leslypalacio's death. As soon as this information was received, investigators acted swiftly. They issued arrest warrants, began investigating all the traces and circumstances related to the case. The steps taken by the police not only revealed information about Leslie's death, but also helped identify the exact roles each person played in committing this crime. The prediction of a flight by Eric and his father turned out to be true. Although the alert had been issued, both had already left Las Vegas. The police now faced a bigger challenge, tracking down the whereabouts of these two men while ensuring they couldn't escape justice. By the end of September, there was another important meeting with the investigators, as the surveillance footage and phone calls had yielded significant evidence. The photos and videos from the security cameras provided a part of the story, from Eric bringing Leslie into the house to both of them being dragged out of the house abruptly. However, there was still no satisfactory explanation for what happened right after that. The investigators decided to focus on Eric's phone calls in the days following the incident. These calls showed that he had been in contact with several friends during that time, but no one had yet spoken up about what really happened. It seemed that Eric was trying to hide his actions, but some clues had led the police to believe that Leslie's death was not an accident, but rather a deliberate act. The situation grew increasingly tense, as the police were not only facing the task of hunting down the criminals, but also grappling with the challenge of securing concrete evidence. The investigation was expanded, and a widespread manhunt for Eric and his father was issued. However, the ambiguity in their actions left everyone worried about what might happen next. On October 1st, the police received a tip about a suspicious incident near the Las Vegas area. A man reported seeing Eric and his father in a desolate spot, and not long after, they vanished once again. This only deepened the investigators' concerns about Leslie's fate and the whereabouts of the two suspects. The situation became even more critical as searches in the immediate area yielded no results. The investigators decided to broaden the search area, deploying teams beyond the Las Vegas region in hopes of finding new clues. Despite the lack of immediate success, Leslie's family refused to give up hope. Her loved ones continued to stay in contact with the police, offering new information and encouraging the investigators to persist in their search. This only made the investigation more intense and challenging. The case of leslypalacio would not just be a simple investigation, but rather a long journey toward uncovering justice and the truth. Everyone hoped that, in the end, the truth would be revealed and justice would prevail. Leslie's body was not found until September 9th. Members of the Mopa Tribal Police, Red Rock search teams, and investigators from the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department discovered Leslie's body in the Mopa Valley, near the Valley of Fire National Park, about 60 miles outside of Las Vegas. The location was several miles off Interstate 15, on Valley of Fire Highway, approximately 2,500 feet down a dirt road. Her body was hidden behind a bush in a dry creek bed. Investigators later told a grand jury that Leslie's body had been severely damaged by the heat, with the skin turning black after several days. Additionally, the body had been heavily destroyed by insects. The initial identification was made by comparing the clothing Leslie wore in dating videos, a striped shirt and blue jeans, with what was found on or near her body. Leslie's body was found without pants, and her underwear was worn incorrectly. According to one detective on the recovery team and involved in the autopsy, her thong underwear had been worn such that the part of the thong between her legs was now positioned like the waistband of regular underwear. Her pants were found nearby, in a different bush. The body was taken to the state laboratory for examination and autopsy to determine the cause of death. However, due to the destruction caused by the desert environment and high temperatures, forensic personnel could not immediately determine the exact cause of death. The day after the body was found, Leslie's family, friends, and community members gathered for a memorial service for the young woman. This was a heartbreaking end to any hope that she might still be alive. As for Eric and Jose, they had completely disappeared. No reports were made of their sightings anywhere. Then, on January 19, 2021, just over 3 months later, Jose Rangel turned himself in at the U.S.-Mexico border crossing. Officials from the Santa Cedra Border Patrol Station near San Diego, California, immediately arrested him and contacted authorities in Las Vegas. Jose waived his right to remain silent and any extradition challenges, wanting to return to his family. The only thing he said about Eric was that the two had parted ways in Mexico, and he hadn't heard from him in months. Investigators said Jose cooperated right away in interviews, but initially, he gave a milder story to downplay his involvement in the case. However, when confronted with security camera footage, he retracted his original story and began to open up to officials. Jose recounted that morning, while working in his garage at home, he heard Eric and Leslie enter the house and stagger up the stairs. Half an hour later, Eric came downstairs shirtless, dragging Leslie's body behind him on a bed sheet. Jose said that Eric told him that Leslie had overdosed and died. Eric then completely lost his mind and started telling his father that they needed to do something with the body. Jose said that he immediately helped Eric remove the body from the house to prevent his wife and daughter from coming downstairs and getting involved. He added that when he looked at Leslie, he didn't see any obvious injuries, no blood or vomit on her body, and she was only partially dressed, with no pants and her underwear oddly pulled up around her abdomen. He helped Eric load the body into the car and immediately sprayed off the gravel outside with a hose as his son drove away with the body. He told investigators that at the time, he wasn't trying to destroy evidence, but was just panicked and doing something in his shock. He thought Eric was going to drive to Utah to dispose of the body. In the end, Jose signed a plea agreement and pleaded guilty to the destruction of evidence and being an accomplice to murder. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison and served 205 days at the Clark County Detention Center, which was credited as time served. However, his light sentence caused public outrage within the community and even the district attorney's office. Deputy District Attorney John Giordani told the press that Nevada's lawmakers needed to do something because discarding the body of a young woman and treating her like discarded trash couldn't just be considered a minor offense. Leslie's family also spoke out to the press about Jose's sentence. When he was released after serving an additional 8 months, the opposition in the community was still strong. He was now free, while his son, Eric, remained at large, free and unpunished for what happened that fateful night. Eric was the subject of 2 nationally broadcast TV shows, but no specific evidence had been found. Reports indicated he had been seen in the states of Chihuahua and Durango in Mexico, but to this day, he has evaded capture by law enforcement. Leslie's family has made it clear that they will never stop thinking about her, and they hope that Eric will eventually face the consequences of his actions. While it's still unclear whether Leslie's death was due to an overdose, or if Eric was responsible for her death, they continue to hope that justice will catch up to him one day.